Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tanya, and today I'm going to do a reaction video for you. This is a reaction to the channel Lost in the Pond, who I've reacted to before, and this is someone that I normally watch in my own free time, but he also has a lot of videos that are really great for reacting to, so I like to react to them sometimes. This one caught my eye because if you're not familiar with Lawrence from Lost in the Pond, he's British, and he has lived in the States now for, I think, like 15 or 16 years or something like that. And he lives in Chicago. So in my home state of Illinois is where he lives, but up north in Chicago. But this video caught my eye because it's called 6 American Things I Can No Longer Live Without. So I'm very curious to know what, in his opinion is like things that like he's become so used to living here in the States that he couldn't imagine not having it anymore if he left. I would imagine that if anybody made a list like this, everyone's things would be kind of different, you know, because everyone is different and everyone likes different things. So I'm curious just to kind of know what his, you know, ideas are of what things he can't live without. I don't know. I like doing stuff like this. It's kind of fun. So let's go ahead and check out and see what things he can't live without. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to things and stuff. Specifically, things and stuff that after living in the United States for nearly 16 years, I can no longer live without. When I first moved here in 2008, I had all these British people saying, "Ooh, don't you become all Americanized?" And I hope those people aren't watching because, as you can see, there's no going back. I have become Americanized to the extent that I am now, in fact, an American citizen. And because of that, and since I've lived here for so long, you really do start to pick up an attachment to certain things. And people who've been subscribed to this channel for a long time are probably expecting me to say air conditioning right off the bat, because I've done that 1,000 times, and it's because I've done it 1,000 times that I'm not going to do it in this video, but just take it as read that AC ordinarily is one of the things I can't live without, even though
So I know that a lot of British people feel this way, but I do a lot of Australian content, and in Australia it gets really hot, so they do have air conditioners. So I'm sure that people from Australia can like really relate to this. Like, imagine not having an air conditioner. Like, that would be absolutely awful.
did in Britain for 26 years. And if you aren't yet subscribed to this channel, do that now! In the meantime, here are American things that I can no longer live without. I feel like this one is just really embarrassing because when I lived in England, we knew about drive-through restaurants in America and thought that looks a bit too extravagant. What's wrong with catching a bus and then walking the extra?
Drive-thrus in America we have drive-thrus for everything, which I personally love. I love that we have drive-thrus for everything, because the last thing I want to do is get out of my car and go in a store. So I love that I can go through the drive-thru at the pharmacy and get my medicine. I love that I can go through drive-thru at a restaurant and get food. I can go through drive-thru. Let's see. Oh, there's like, not like marijuana dispensaries, but like places that sell like Delta 8 gummies and things like that. You can also go through the drive-thru and get yourself some weed gummies. We have drive-thrus for like so many things, and it's so convenient.
Half a mile to get to the place and ordering your food there. At least then you justify the calories you're about to eat at, say, McDonald's. And I held on to that feeling for quite a while, but then I turned 40 and realised that I like my comforts.
The fact that him aged looks just like my father-in-law is hilarious. Oh my God. That looks like Joe's dad.
That I'm lazy, and that my dog Arthur really likes drive-thrus because it often comes with the promise of a puppuccino. And since I left Britain, I have heard that
That's another thing. At drive-thrus, you can go like if you go to a fast food place, not everywhere, but some places, like McDonald's has pup cups where they just give you a little cup with some whipped cream in it for your dog to enjoy the whipped cream when you get yourself a treat. Coffee shops, they have a puppuccino or whatever, same thing. It's a cup with whipped cream. for the dogs to enjoy a coffee with you or whatever. It's very cute. But then there's other places where you can go to the bank. Banks have drive-thrus too. I don't know if other countries have drive-through banks. That's very common, I would imagine, right? But also drive-through banks and different places. If you have a dog with you and they see that you have a dog with you, they'll say, "Can your dog have a treat?" And they usually hand you like a little bone, like a little dog bone or something. So like if Raven's in the car with me and I go somewhere, she usually gets some sort of treat from somewhere, from someone.
Thrus have popped up in Britain. And if you are British and you are watching this, have you experienced drive-thrus where you live? And if so, do they drive in the opposite direction around the building to here? Number 2, mixer taps. You might have seen my YouTube short from last week where I spoke about this phenomenon, which is less of a phenomenon and more just the norm in most places in the world, but not in Britain. And if you don't know the reasons for that, go and watch the short in question. The point is,
I remember him talking about this in another video a long time ago, the fact that in Britain, their faucet is like, it's like there's a hot and a cold faucet, instead of just one faucet that can do both or something like that. I think that's what he's talking about.
House that I grew up in Britain, and just most houses in Britain, the bathrooms and the kitchens have sinks with separate hot and cold taps. And for 26 years, I had to wash my hands like this. Get some soap, nice and foamy. Turn on the hot tap while getting foam on it. Run your hands under that. That's bloody hot. Turn on the cold tap to cool them down.
It's so that's weird. Nice. Why?
That's really nice. It's actually getting a bit too cold now, and they're done. And I never once thought to myself, there must be an easier way to do this.
So
I did turn the taps off too. I'm not wasting water. And then I moved to America, and I noticed there was just one faucet in the sinks in the house that I lived in initially. I just thought, well, maybe this is a quirk of this particular house, and didn't really think too much of it. But I did like the fact that you could choose the temperature that came out of the tap. It didn't have to be scalding hot. It didn't have to be freezing cold. It could be somewhere in between. That said, I don't think in the middle is the perfect temperature. That's too lukewarm. I'm the sort of person who gets his steak medium well, and so when I've had a steak and my hands are all greasy, I like my temperature to be medium well. I might have thought about this too much.
Vans?
One of the biggest American things that I can't live without, and one that I've not really spoken about publicly, is vans. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Lawrence, you and Tara have a Prius. That's hardly a van, is it? Well, calm down, you keyboard warrior. Is it warrior? Warrior? Because I'm not referring to the vehicle type. I'm referring to Vans shoes. And as you can see, these are a little worn and dog-eaten, and they're in the process of being replaced. But the point is, these are my favourite shoe brand. And you might be thinking, Lawrence, I didn't know you were a skater boy, because as we know, Avril Lavigne is a massive fan of this channel. And I'm not a skater boy, although granted I did once have an addiction to Tony Hawk's 3. The point is, I am somebody with long legs.
I definitely had an addiction to playing the Tony Hawk games when I was younger. Oh my God, I played it so much. I got so good at that game. Vans, I assume that shoes like Vans you can order from wherever you live, right? Like, I know it's an American company, but can't you just, is that just something that only Americans know about? Like, I thought that was like a really popular shoe brand that everybody wears. I don't have any Vans. Savannah has a pair of Vans, and her boyfriend Jose has a pair of Vans. They like them. They're kind of like the newer version of like Converse or something. They look uncomfortable to me. So I wear Hey Dudes. Like, as far as like shoes that aren't flip-flops, you know, whenever I wear shoes that are not flip-flops, I wear my Hey Dudes.
Knees, and I don't like shoelaces. Now, I should add that Vans has lace-up shoes too, but they are pointless. Now, this is not sponsored by Vans. If it was, I'd probably show much nicer pairs of shoes. But I've just become a fan, you know, a van fan, or a van. And they're comfortable. I walk in these every day with Arthur when he's not treating them like a meal. And they've been everywhere with me, from the beaches of Lake Michigan to the mountainsides of West Virginia. And they've got the scars and the odour to prove it.
American English.
Americans, did you ever think that you'd hear a British person say this? I can't live without American English. Now for me, more than most people, that's true because firstly, it forms part of the basis of my job, comparing and contrasting our two countries' varieties of English. But it also plays a big part in my everyday life. I mean, firstly, I'm married to an American-born citizen. Secondly, and I've done videos about the precise...
Okay, sorry about that. My internet went out for just a second and for no reason at all. I don't know why. There's no storm or anything. It just went out. So I have to get back into it. Okay.
American-born citizen. Secondly, and I've done videos about the precise Americanisms in question, I myself have picked some up. Many, in fact. You know, I come from a country where we are forever fearful of the Americanization of English within Britain. The thing is that I would say to that is that Britain lost that fight a long time ago. For instance, any British person, and this is 90% of us, who've ever used the word hangover are upset that we have one, but at this point are probably completely unaware that the word hangover originated in American English more than a century ago. Now, I wonder if British people at the time had the same reservations over the word hangover as they do quite a lot of American English. But then it got me thinking, we don't take any issue with most American English terms that make it over to Britain. Whether it's military-derived words like radar, or musical genres like jazz and rock and roll, or a word as simple as hello. American English and British English have long influenced each other and will continue to do so long after I'm dead. And on that happy note, it's time to get up off the sofa.
Mud rooms?
And that's because I want to talk about one particular room in my house, and that is the mud room. And even though you find mud rooms in other countries like Canada and even to some extent Britain, it just feels like more American houses have them. And you might be thinking, what is a mud room? Well, a mud room, as I've pointed out in previous videos, is a sort of entryway that just allows you to drag mud in there before you enter.
I think I've heard it called a mud room before, but we don't call it a mud room. At least not, I don't hear people calling it that. More people will say screened in front porch. It's kind of just like a deck or a porch, but it's like inside
the main part of the house. I mean, that might not be its official purpose, but that's what I use it for, and especially since I got a dog. You know, he likes to run around in this yard. Sometimes he drags me too, and so when we come back from doing that, I make sure we hang out in here first, so that I don't have to bother getting a towel and drying his feet off. But I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you the main reason that I've fallen in love with this mudroom is it's a very convenient place just to store rubbish. I don't mean mouldy rubbish like food or stuff like that, but just sort of empty boxes that I don't have room in the recycling bin for yet. I've just realised that everything on this list is something that I could live without if I wasn't lazy, but the fact of the matter is I am, which brings us on to the final entry. Over the last 2 weeks, it's become very apparent to me that I couldn't make this video without including a piece of furniture that I spoke about a few weeks ago in a video all about American furniture, and that is Adera chairs. It's been a good few weeks. I've used them very often while sitting outside with Arthur. Now, granted, it is the summer, so it sort of makes sense that I am out here, but I can imagine that I'll probably be using these in the height of winter, just not in a t-shirt, but a winter jacket. Because like vans, they are comfortable, and you might be thinking, aren't they just like a deck chair? And firstly, no, because you don't have to fold them up and put them away. And secondly, on deck chairs, your arse doesn't fall back because there's not that diagonal slope, whereas with these, there is, and again, appeals to my laziness. And then, of course, the arms that I spoke about in that video are majestic. I mean, you can fit your phone on it, for one, and number two, you could probably play an entire board game. I've got this idea that my wife or friends will bring along their other Adirondack chair, put it here so that they're sitting there, and we'll just put a board here, play checkers. The one thing that I didn't mention in that video is that they're really easy to clean, and I know that because they're constantly getting covered in bird shit. That is one of the downs.
I don't know anyone who like really calls any type of chair by the type of chair that it is, you know? Like we just say chair. Unless you're specifically talking about like a lawn chair, which is something that you fold up, you know?
Of having it under a magnolia tree, which is so massive I didn't really have any choice. So that's my list, or at least a partial list, because like I said, there's hundreds of other things that I could have included, and if this video does well, my producers say, then we'll do a part 2. If it tanks, then we'll just push that part 2 under the rug. If you did like this video and you were interested in what I was saying about my Adirondack chair, why not watch this video, 4 furniture styles that I only encountered after moving to the United States. Until the next video, goodbye.
That was a good video as always with Lawrence. He's so funny. You guys will have to let me know in the comments, no matter where you're from, what do you think of his list of things that he can no longer live without, since living in America now for almost 16 years. Let me know, like, if you're not from here, do you use American English a lot? Like he said, like, there's a lot of things that you pick up on, like the word hello and hangover and things that you don't really think about. Where did it originate, you know? So I'm assuming that there's going to be tons of words that originated here that you just don't realize it. Or it's the same with, like, for us, there's a lot of words that we use that probably originated in England and we don't really think about its origin or anything like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was a good list. Leave it to Lawrence to talk about a specific kind of chair to sit outside in. I thought that was so funny. And Van shoes. What a weird list. That's so funny. What would you guys put on this list? Whether you're American or not American, whether you've been to America or not, what is something that you would not be able to live without American-wise that you currently live with? I'm very curious to see what your answers would be. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't done that yet. My throne wish list is linked in the description if you're interested in checking it out. My Discord is also linked below if you're interested in joining. It's completely free, and I just pop in and hang out with everybody, so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.